Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the GM. It's your guy, Boulanger. And up next, man, I'm gonna tackle the topic why the Baltimore Ravens have to sign Lamar Jackson to a deal. And let me begin by saying have to is much different than must. You see, must sign Lamar Jackson speaks of urgency. Have to sign Lamar Jackson means they don't have another option. And I'm going to lay out three reasons why they have to sign Lamar Jackson. Let's go. So, reason number one is there is no quarterback free agent market that the Baltimore Ravens can rely on. Okay. So, when you look at who's available in free agency, the best quarterback that would have been available would have been someone like Derek Carr, but he's off the market. So the next best available guy is gonna be Jimmy G. And Jimmy G has had a good run in San Francisco. He's been to, I believe it's two Super Bowls. Um, he's done some good things, but he's not the guy who can get you over the hump. He's a fill in the gap guy, to get you from where you are to where you're going to go at the quarterback position. So that would be a Baltimore Ravens option at quarterback. Okay. Another option is Tyler Huntley. Now, we understand who Tyler Huntley is. We've seen him basically for 2 years, and he's played about 14 games for the Baltimore Ravens. And it's clear at this point that Tyler Huntley is a gap guy, right? A perennial backup, but he's certainly a gap quarterback. He can make plays with his feet and, he can make some throws, but he can definitely give up some plays as well. And that's what he's been consistently. And if I'm honest on Tyler Huntley, he had me fooled. I was thinking that he could be a starting quarterback for a number of years for a team. But the more opportunity he's been given, the more opportunity he's had to show that he is just a gap guy, a guy who can fill in the gap for a few games, maybe a year, until a team finds their long-term answer at quarterback. So that would be an option. And then the rest of the market looks like Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, and both those guys are on their second or third teams. Who else could be out there? Ryan Tannehill may be out there. But when you look through those guys, I mean, who does the Baltimore Ravens have to really pick from other than the number one free agent in this year's class and the number one quarterback available, Lamar Jackson? So when you really look at where the Ravens are team wise, what the Ravens need, and what the Ravens' options are, you're still left with Lamar Jackson. So my number one reason is that there is no free agent quarterback market that offer options for the Baltimore Ravens to really select from. Okay. The number two reason that the Baltimore Ravens have to sign Lamar Jackson is because of their salary cap situation. You see, the Baltimore Ravens, of course, placed the non-franchise tag on Lamar Jackson, which has a $32 million price tag. Okay. And what that did was put them over the cap. So now they're trying to do moves now, Gus Edwards, Chuck Clark, things of that nature to get under the cap so that they can be in line with the NFL salary cap requirements to go into a new league year. Okay. But when they're already maxed out salary cap because of the Lamar Jackson franchise tag, there's no free agents that they can resign. That leaves no room to sign any free agents. And then when you look at guys on their roster, uh, they can certainly rework Calais Campbell's deal. His deal isn't set in concrete necessarily. They can rework Zeitler's deal. They may can do a little bit with Morgan Moses' deal. They could certainly do something with Marcus Williams' deal. And they can certainly do something with the Marlon Humphreys deal, because I think Marlon Humphreys has a little more shelf life than Ronnie Stanley. They don't want to really touch Ronnie Stanley's deal because they're so far upside down in that. But then you're just, really just moving cheers on the Titanic, right? You're just moving around what's already in place in a potential disaster. Okay. And so the benefit of signing Lamar Jackson and getting him off that franchise tag is so that they can reduce his cap number in the context of base salary, which will open up some cap space and allow them to go after some wide receivers, a cornerback, or something like that to fulfill some of those needs. But at this point in time, they can't do that because he is on the franchise tag, and the franchise tag is not flexible. Okay. So, of course, our first reason, they don't have many options, if any, on the free agency market other than Lamar Jackson. And because his franchise tag locks in that $32 million, they don't have any cap space or flexibility other than just moving money around on already existing contracts or cutting players, which then creates more holes in a roster. Okay. My number three reason and most important reason is the smokescreen that they've put up for the whole league. Now, I don't have any inside scoop or I don't have any inside information, anything like that. But here's what I believe has really happened. This is my authentic take for sure. And I have not heard this from anybody else. So this is just me talking uh, from, my own thoughts. The smokescreen is that let's go let Lamar Jackson test the market, establish his value, and then we have an option to match or get 2 first-round picks. Now, that is certainly the scenario with the non-exclusive franchise tag. But I think that's a smokescreen because all the other moving parts in this scenario point in that direction. Let me explain. When the Baltimore Ravens placed the non-exclusive franchise tag on Lamar Jackson, the news had already been broke 3 days, 4 days prior that that's what they were leaning towards. Okay. So when it happened, it shouldn't have been a surprise. Okay. Now, if the sports media knew that they were leaning towards the non-exclusive franchise tag, then you can bet GMs across the whole league knew, even before sports media knew that this was happening, which means a narrative has already been established. Stay with me. Now, I really believe this is what's happening. This is not conspiracy theory. So that's why as soon as the announcement was made official on March 7th, deadline day, that's why you saw the Carolina Panthers come out and say, no, we're out. Miami, we're out. Um, the Falcons were out. There's another team that I'm thinking about. But anyway, 4 or 5 teams came out immediately and said they were out. And I came out and blasted them and called them frauds and liars. But here's why they're frauds and liars. You're not out on a franchise quarterback before he was made available. See, that's fraud. And that's a lie. But as I began to think and watch how these teams moved, okay, the Carolina Panthers, they traded away 2 first, 2 seconds, and the only real wide receiver they have at that point in time to Chicago for the number 1 pick. And they certainly have announced that they're going to get a quarterback. Okay. So that seemed to validate that they were telling the truth about being out on Lamar Jackson. Okay. That's what it looks like. Then the Miami Dolphins, they pick up the 5th-year option for Tua Tagovailoa. So it looks like they were telling the truth about being out on Lamar Jackson. Okay. Atlanta hadn't really made a move at the quarterback position yet. Of course, the Saints grabbed Derek Carr and the Jets moved in position to kind of grab Aaron Rodgers. Okay. And there are some other teams that have been pretty quiet, and then there was a conversation that the Patriots were out. And then I also saw something that the Patriots were in. But the Panthers, the Dolphins looked like they were telling the truth. But here's why. I think the Baltimore Ravens, in the pre-franchise tag conversation that they had with the rest of the league, said, we're going to match whatever contract Lamar signs as it pertains to an offer sheet. So if he signs something with the Panthers, they're going to match it. He signs something with the Falcons, they're going to match it. He signs something with um, the Dolphins, that they were going to match it, although the Dolphins don't have a first-round pick this year. The Baltimore Ravens have already put out there that they're going to match it. That's what would make teams run away, because the narrative that came out between franchise tag day and the end of the week was teams don't want to do Baltimore Ravens work, meaning they don't want to put all the work in to bring Lamar in, have a conversation, do an offer sheet, and then all Baltimore has to do is match it. That was a conversation that came out. Well, you may be thinking, Leon, what are you really saying? I'm saying that all the GMs have a conversation before we hear about it. 100% sure that that happens. Because they haven't come to a long-term deal, they didn't have a choice but do the non-exclusive tag, but also put out there that, hey, we're going to match it. So what does that do? One, it looks like teams don't want Lamar, reducing his value. See, because when teams just come out and say we're out, that reduces his value, or it looks like it reduces his value. But that's only because Baltimore has already made them aware that we're going to match it. So why would a team go through all the hard work if they're just going to be outdone by the Baltimore Ravens? That's why a team would get out early so that they can get on with their offseason. Okay. Number two, if teams drop out and it looks like Lamar Jackson's value is dropping, that teams really don't want Lamar Jackson, who does that favor? Well, that favors the Baltimore Ravens. That means if Lamar don't go out and fetch a deal and get an offer sheet that he would sign, guess where he has to go back to and take what they offered him? He has to go back to the Baltimore Ravens and take what they offer. You see how this thing is playing out? See, this whole thing, I believe, is a smokescreen. And so and the collusion was real, but because the collusion is about money. But this this non-exclusive franchise tag is a smokescreen because they have every intention on matching whatever offer he gets, because they don't expect a team to meet what they know his demand is, whatever his demand is. If it's 230 million in guaranteed money, and whatever the whole dollar amount is, they don't expect teams to do that. So anything that he comes back to them with is going to be less than what he was asking the Ravens for. Therefore, they save a little bit of money and still get the quarterback they wanted in the first place. You see, that's what I believe has happened. I believe this whole thing is a smokescreen. See, it's going to come off as the Baltimore Ravens set it up perfectly. Because I've seen that headline. The Baltimore Ravens has set the Lamar Jackson contract up perfectly, or contract scenario up perfectly. But they hadn't set up anything. It's really a smokescreen. And they've already had conversations, and there are certain teams that said, you know what, I'm out. Because they don't want to go through that drama. Reason number three. Reason number three. is I believe that the Baltimore Ravens are going to sign Lamar Jackson and in a couple of years trade him so that they can really begin a rebuild. See, they're in win now mode, so they have to have Lamar. They can't go with a rookie in win now mode. And Lamar fits a win now narrative. So when you think about it, the only option has ever been Lamar Jackson because he's the only guy available that can put them or keep them in win now mode. And then in a couple of years, when his value is still high, then they can press reset. You see, because if I use their narrative with his style of play, he has a 4 or 5 year shelf life left. Around age 30, he'll begin to break down. And so that fits a 4 or 5 year contract. And then they can get off him early. That's what I believe. And let me give you a bonus one. Let me give you a bonus one. They have to sign Lamar Jackson because all of their free agency hangs on it. You see, they've put themselves in a greater bind than we recognize. You see, tampering period starts tomorrow, March 13th. Okay. By the time you guys see this video, it'll be approaching March 15th, which is the beginning of free agency officially. Well, there won't be an offer sheet signed by that time, which means the Baltimore Ravens will be delayed if nothing gets done, being able to go get a wide receiver or a cornerback or whatever else they think they need. Why? Because the Lamar Jackson deal has not been done, and his franchise tag takes up all the rest of the cap space. You follow what I'm saying? So if I create a scenario where I'm in a holding pattern for free agency, there's nothing literally they're going to be able to do to a Lamar Jackson deal is done, or they let him walk to another team. And so if I get stuck with the Lamar Jackson deal and free agency is hemmed up, I don't have a choice but to play out the rest of my hands and keep Lamar. Why? Because I don't have nothing else. You see, literally, they could walk into 2023 with the same exact roster, with the only additions being draft picks, and still be a playoff team. They absolutely could, but they can only do that with Lamar Jackson. And because they failed to get a deal done and they did the non exclusive franchise tag, and they've scared all the other teams away so they won't get real offers. Well, excuse me, so Lamar won't get real offers. They don't have a choice but to sign Lamar Jackson. Because if they don't sign Lamar, free agency is late starting. The 2023 season goes down the drain early. And let me highlight this. This can be a second bonus. Because the Baltimore Ravens are all the way down at number 23 in the first round. They don't have the draft capital to get up into the top 5 to get one of those blue chip quarterbacks. There's only 3: CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, and Anthony Richardson. Those other guys are just dudes as it pertains to what we've seen as far as the combine and things of that nature. And so if the Carolina Panthers had to give up 2 seconds, 2 seconds, 2 firsts, and DJ Moore to move 8 spots, what would the Baltimore Ravens have to give up to move 22 spots, or 20 spots? to get one of those blue chippers. And they don't have that kind of draft capital. So there's not even a rookie option unless you wait at number 23 and pick one of the secondary guys. So you don't really have free agent options. You're so far down in the draft that you don't have rookie quarterback options. So Lamar Jackson is still the only option. So I believe that this whole thing has been a botched mess. And they had to create this smoke screen as if they're going to let Lamar go out and fetch a deal, but only to match it. That's the real truth behind it. They're going to match it because they don't have any other options. None. They don't have money. They don't have draft capital. They don't have any free agent options at quarterback. And they don't have any rookie options because they're so far down in the draft. That's why they have to sign Lamar Jackson. And if they don't, Ravens Nation, we're in trouble. So listen, man, that's my take. Let me know what you want me to know, man. Let me know if I've lost my mind or if I'm closer to being correct. I think I'm closer to being correct. I'm your guy Boulanger. This is the GM, and I'm out.